Like any kid back in the early 2010s, I used to be obsessed with playing our Wii. I had Mii's for every friend and family member, including my cats. We don't really need to get into that one. Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess, Wii Cheer 2, and Just Dance were a few of my favorite games that I would alternate between constantly. I played the Girlfriend Just Dance game way too much. So my parents were on the hunt for a new game that didn't have the early 2000s music blasting from our basement every day. That's when my grandma, or Grammy as we call her, found a little game called The Daring Game for Girls. So you're probably wondering why I'm making a however long this video is about a super obscure game that I played a few times when I was 7. Well, recently, as I was scrolling on YouTube for something to watch while I ate my lunch, because I'm secretly a sticky iPad kid and can't eat without watching something now, I found an old Game Grumps video from 9 years ago on my homepage. It unlocked a core memory of me playing that game, and something came over me like it was my sacred duty to archive lost media, such as the video game gold that was The Daring Game for Girls. So here I am. I spent an hour hooking up my Wii to my dad's ancient work laptop so I could screen record the game for you all to see. This is how I found our old Wii station. And this is my dad helping me figure out how AV cables work. Oh my gosh. Look at it! Take that long, because I did most of the heavy lifting, right?
True.
We hooked it up to this old VHS converter, and I still have no clue how it works, but... So now that the Wii is set up, let's get right into it. The Daring Game for Girls was a game based on a 2007 book called The Daring Book for Girls. It was released on March 9th, 2010 for the Wii by Majesco Entertainment Company and developed by WXP Games. I think there was also a DS game, but since my parents never bought me a DS because they didn't love me, we'll be mainly focusing on the Wii game. We'll also talk a little bit more about the book and how it relates to the game at all. The genre of the game on some of the listings I found was just labeled girl, so obviously this game is a masterpiece. The plot of the game centers around you, where you play as a girl who had just moved into a new neighborhood. You learn all about the backstory of your character and the basics of all this fun stuff you'll get to do in the game through this, kind of cursed looking cutscene at the beginning. So far, based on the, cinematic cutscene at the beginning, this game looks like it's going to be pretty fun. In fact, if you look at the description on the back cover of the case, it reads, based on the best-selling The Daring Book for Girls series, comes a fun, interactive adventure that celebrates the independent female spirit. Earn essential gear as you explore, play, learn, and make new friends. Whether it's rafting down the Amazon, climbing Mount McKinley, or embarking on an African safari, all the inspiring activities within are designed especially for daring girls like you. At this point in the video, I'd like to make a small disclaimer that I'll be using a lot of gendered terms specifically targeted at girls. I'm sure it wasn't just girls who played this game, but at the time it was marketed to the tween girl demographic that was really popular at the time. Think Justice, you know, all of that. You don't have to identify as a girl to play this game. So while I'm mostly using gendered terms, please remember not to take this game or this video seriously, as it's a silly Wii game from the 2010s. So is this game everything that it's advertised to be? To test this out, I played with one of my little sisters, Lucy. She's 6, and I figured I could test to see how someone in the actual age demographic plays it. I'm sure it hits much differently for a little kid than it does a 20-year-old college kid.
Say hi, Lucy.
Hi. Hey, Allie. What joke should I... Oh, I know. What do you call a guy that doesn't fart in public?
What?
A private tutor.
You're a cat now?
Meow. I'm gonna go on the cat tree.
No, don't climb on the cat tree.
Just kidding.
Alright, now we're gonna do something cool.
Oh,
You ready to be a business lady?
yeah. Business lady.
Business lady. Ooh, stop. I love Cracker Barrel.
Okay, yeah, I do because I have confetti pancakes. I don't know. I can't believe Blue is actually on the... Blue, are you playing with my fake lettuce? Playing with my fake lettuce on here. What do you call a fish with no eye?
What?
A fish.
That's crazy. That's so silly.
I don't know why I just a bottle. Sorry.
Did you just apologize to the microphone?
No.
Sorry, microphone.
He was just hanging out on his cat tree. Hanging out. One time, when we were playing the Wii, he was sitting up way on the tallest tower of that cat tree.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was.
Big box down.
At the start of the game, you can pick your appearance based on 7 different character models, but that's where the customization ends. You can also only have one save file on the game at a time, so choose wisely. This is also a single player game, so only one person can play at a time. So if you want to play with your siblings on separate files or even together, you're kinda out of luck. After the cursed cutscene that we saw earlier, the game opens with an establishing shot of the neighborhood. Throughout the game, there are 3 different areas you can go to: the neighborhood, the school, and the campground. You start the game in the neighborhood by talking to Katie, the first character you're able to interact with. She offers to help you in your mission to collect essential gear and earn Daring Girl badge points, which was super meta of her right off the bat. She explains some of the main mechanics you'll need to start the game and serves as a tutorial character who can give you helpful hints and tricks on where to go next in the game. She suggests you start by going over to the school. Of course, I didn't do that. Allie's pro tip of pro gaming: never do what the game tells you. There's other characters you can talk to in the neighborhood besides Katie. There's Molly. She just kind of scooters around. Scoots? Is that a verb? Scooters? Anyway, she scooters around the neighborhood. Jane, she just rides a bike around town. That's it. She has like 2 lines of dialogue. Rachel, she walks around the library parking lot on stilts for some reason. There's not really any reason why she's doing this, and it's never really acknowledged by her or any of the other NPCs, like at all. Erin, she sits on the library steps and is the NPC for the arts and literature trivia game. You know she's smart because she has glasses and a book, and she self-identifies as an arts and literature buff. Then there's Lola, who sits on this bench next to the school in a trench coat with sunglasses. I wonder where we've seen that before.
What are you gonna do?
I'm going to call the police.
No.
She's kind of sketchy at first, but she probably has the most personality out of any of the NPCs in this game, which isn't saying a lot, but if you give her a friendship bracelet to earn her trust, she tells you about how she wants to be a secret agent when she grows up, and how she's practicing. She offers to give you a mission to practice being an agent. We'll talk a little more about her secret agent missions a little later, as they're pretty important to the rest of the game. By the way, the only way I could get the names of these characters was by giving them a friendship bracelet. They don't even introduce themselves before they start asking you to do stuff for them.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
You'll also meet Britta, who's standing over by this tree and tells you that there's a secret garden behind the fence. The only way to access this garden is by building a rope ladder. Lucy really likes gardening in video games, mostly because she wants to grow flowers, especially peonies, which are her favorite flower. Not that that's important, I just thought that was really cute. So we went on a mission to figure out how to build this rope ladder. We checked out the 3 different stores in the neighborhood: the craft store, the gardening store, and the hardware store. The craft store is where you get a lot of the material you'll need for the craft projects, including scissors, which is the only crafting tool available in the game, as well as embroidery, floss, yarn, feathers. The gardening store is exactly as advertised, and it is where you buy seeds for flowers and produce. The hardware store is where you buy your essential gear, such as a flashlight, a helmet, and the most important item you'll need in this game, a Swiss Army knife. You can also buy construction items, such as You can also buy construction items, such as wood, sandpaper, and rope, all of which can be used in the crafting workshop. You can also find a lot of these crafting materials around the game, as they spawn semi-randomly in certain areas. However, me and Lucy made the responsible decision to wait and buy stuff until we checked out the rest of the game. There are a few different mini games you can play around the neighborhood. If you talk to Molly, she'll tell you to build a scooter. Building a scooter in the workshop will unlock a mini game where you go through the scooter obstacle course. Unfortunately, the footage I had for this part was corrupted and I couldn't use it, so here is a dramatic reenactment.
Oh my god. Oh my god, he on X Games mode.
If you talk to Erin, she'll ask you if you want to play an arts and literature trivia game. The game questions come from the loading screens that have the daring girl facts while you're waiting. The questions for the arts and literature trivia mostly consist of questions about book plots, famous art pieces, and yo-yo tricks. And then there's the freaking slide. Sorry. This game is one of the only ones I couldn't beat, and it was super frustrating. I'm sure this would have been fun for people who like puzzles, you know, the left-brained people, but I am terrible at puzzles. So I will leave it to the professional. You can access this game by talking to Rachel, you know, the girl that was on stilts, but you could also just click the billboard sign, so talking to her isn't super necessary. And also, just doesn't explain why she's on stilts. Also, remember that secret agent chick I was talking about earlier? Well, if you accept her mission, she gives you a code in Pigpen. See, this is where I had kind of an issue with helping Lucy. Pigpen code is relatively easy to figure out once you get the hang of it, but I think it might have been a little too complicated for Lucy, so I had to help her out with this part. When I was younger, I remember just not reading the code at all and just wandering around until I found the envelope. The first code had a location to a secret envelope that was hidden behind the book statue that sat near the edge of the neighborhood. Once we got the envelope, we brought it back to Lola, who opened it to reveal a map. This will be important later, so hang on to this map. When you enter the school gates, you're greeted by the schoolyard, which has a bunch of playground equipment that you can't play on, and a variety of NPCs who unlock mini-games. Like a real school, or at least when I was in grade school, the most important part of a daring girl's day is recess. So all these games are based off of different games and sports you'd played during actual recess. So there's me and Lucy's personal favorite, tetherball. These animations are super funny to watch, and the NPC, Maria, is so stiff. There's randomly like these Hadouken blasts you can hit.
Hadouken!
Lucy was so good at this game and won on the first try, so take that, Game Grumps. There's this NPC who dribbles in a circle. I never learned her name. If you talk to her, you can play Around the World. It's just like a real game of Around the World where you shoot hoops in a rotation around the hoop, shooting from every angle. I liked it, but me and Lucy got pretty frustrated because it would randomly decide to be buggy and would freeze, so we couldn't win. Or maybe I'm just trash at basketball. You can also play soccer with this little blonde dude named Oliver. What can I say other than that Oliver is the worst goalie ever? He will usually jump in the opposite direction of the ball, and somehow I will still not make it in the goal. It does make me laugh though, so I guess that was fun. There's also James, who is standing near the school building entrance, and if you talk to him, you can participate in a trivia game. The questions are more general than the arts and literature ones, revolving more around science or other random topics. Then there's Raj. Talking to him, he tells you that his science homework blew away and is scattered throughout town. He asks for our help to find them, but proceeds to just stand there. So I guess I'm not helping, I'm just doing it for him. Luckily, he pays you in points, but still, this isn't the team effort you're making it out to be, Raj. All the elements have fun facts that he'll tell you when you bring them back to him. I tried to complete this quest to the best of my ability, but since there are like 118 elements in the periodic table, I definitely didn't get them all. I'm not sure if every single element in the periodic table was in the game, but I didn't have time to check. And it's not like there's a game walkthrough for this random game that I'm pretty sure me and like 2 other people played. There's some other NPCs that are kind of just hanging around that you can kind of talk to.
That looks like Rose.
Yeah, it kind of does.
The only one you can really interact with and give a friendship bracelet to is Jay, which is this guy that hops around on a pogo stick. He seems fun. Then there's these other girls that kind of just ignore you, which is pretty accurate to my recess experience. I will say the NPCs in the school section are a lot more animated, and by that, I mean they have actual moving animations. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the school. Let's move on. Alright, this section is going to be kind of short because while the school was like full of characters, the campground is not. There's only 3 different NPCs you can interact with. The first one I saw was Rosa, this girl that just jump ropes constantly. She's in charge of the Double Dutch game along with other NPCs who came out of nowhere. And the next one is Michelle. This NPC is in charge of the freeze tag minigame. Very similar to real life freeze tag, where you run around and tag NPCs by pressing the A button and freezing them. But the other NPCs can unfreeze each other, so you have to catch them all quickly. This was definitely one of the more challenging games in the bunch, and I had to play this one for Lucy. And then there's Savannah, who just stoically stands looking at the mountains. If you talk to her, you can participate in some camp-themed trivia, which is mostly just about basic first aid stuff and learning more about essential gear. After exploring, me and Lucy decided we were going to try and beat the game together. We were ready to conquer this new world and earn all the Daring Girl badge points, and yeah, we didn't do that. Turns out this game took a lot more time than we thought it would, but we did try everything at least once. So what even are Daring Girl badge points? Basically, they're a point system where you earn points by doing different things that correlate to each of these badges. There are 6 different badges. Sports and games. You can earn these points from sports-themed minigames, including Around the World, Tetherball, Soccer, the Scooter Game, Double Dutch, and Freeze Tag. The World Knowledge Badge. You can earn these points by doing trivia at the school and the campground. Life Skills. You can earn these from crafting at the workshop and selling things at the corner stand. We'll talk a bit more about that in a second. Arts and Literature. You can earn these points from doing arts and literature trivia and the stupid slide puzzle and adventure. You can earn these points by completing all the secret agent quests with Lola. Girl Lore. You can earn these points by making and giving out friendship bracelets and becoming friends with each of the characters in the game. I was gonna make a joke about how easy it was to form relationships with each of these characters, but honestly, as a kid in the early 2000s, it was really easy to just walk up to someone and be like, wanna be friends? And that would be it. And honestly, I could probably do that now in college too. So remember Britta, this girl that was chilling by a tree and told us about the secret garden? Well, in order to do that, we still need to build a rope ladder. However, we need materials and tools to do that. So after finally taking Katie's helpful hint to go to school, we headed over to play some mini games. Apparently, you can earn some of the essential gear you need by playing games with the NPCs. Why this random little girl not only has a Swiss Army knife on her, but is also willing to barter it away by beating her in basketball is beyond me. So after collecting our essential gear from the school, we went back to the hardware store, only to realize that we didn't have enough money to buy our materials and the other tools that we needed. So we headed back to Katie, and obviously, we used our Swiss Army knife to hold her up for money. Just kidding. She told us to sell lemonade at the corner stand to make more money. So we went to our crafting station to make some lemonade. Turns out, crafting proved more challenging to Lucy than anything else. The mechanics were pretty touchy, and not only that, but a lot of the games were timed, which made Lucy all the more stressed. We figured it out though and finished up our lemonade. As professional businesswomen, we sold and advertised our lemonade sale at the corner stand. Selling things at the corner stand was super easy, and all we had to do was sit and watch the NPCs roll in. You can pretty much sell anything at the corner stand, including crafts, produce, flowers, and of course, lemonade. We ended up making bank, and now we had enough to build our rope ladder. After building it, it randomly appeared on the fence behind Britta, so now, instead of telling us about the secret garden rumor, Britta now gives helpful hints about gardening. Hopping over the fence, we find a garden that has a few free tools for us to use, as well as some seeds to try out, which is making me think that maybe this isn't a secret garden, and we might have just broken into someone's yard. Me and Lucy didn't spend much time gardening, but we did end up planting and harvesting some daisies to make flower crowns at the crafting stand. It was fun, but Lucy got bored and wanted to go do something else. Remember that map that Lola gave us? After she gives us the map, she tells us to go and buy a helmet, a flashlight, and some duct tape, and reveals that the map is for a secret cave out by the campground. So we headed over to the hardware store and bought what she asked for. We also decided to buy a pair of binoculars, which unlocked a new quest line where you can birdwatch. No, not that kind of birdwatch. I think you're supposed to birdwatch all the birds in the game and unlock a badge or something, but me and Lucy quickly got bored of the birdwatching and moved on. So we headed to the cave. Entering, we realized there was no game map at the top of the screen. Maybe I'm just spoiled from Baldur's Gate 3, but this was kind of annoying having to switch back and forth between the map menu and walking. Luckily, the first area was easy and we found a treasure chest that opened up to give us Daring Girl badge points. I was kind of hoping that it would give us money too, but whatever. You can go back to Lola and get 3 more missions from her. Upon completing those, you receive the Adventure Badge. This game was a lot more fun than I gave it credit for, but the real question on me and Lucy's mind was, where's all the adventure stuff that we were promised earlier? The rafting down the Amazon, the mountain climbing on Mount McKinley, or the African safari? Well, wherever it is, we can find it. My theory is that once you beat the game, you might unlock like a cutscene or something that shows you doing all of those things. And to beat the game, I think you have to unlock all the Daring Girl badges. But honestly, with all that hype on the back of the box, the majority of the gameplay is just you walking around and making crafts. Lucy had fun, and some of the games were definitely a little challenging for her, but it was a fun sister bonding time, and it gave us a fun activity to do together. Me and Lucy only managed to knock out 2 of the Daring Girl badges, but maybe we can beat it together some other time. So, as I said earlier, this game is based off a 2007 book called The Daring Book for Girls, written by Miriam Peskowitz. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, and Andrea J. Buchanan. I'm totally butchering these names, I apologize. The Barnes & Noble description reads, "No callow imitation. The Daring Book for Girls contains oodles of information and instruction for tomboys and girly girls alike. This handy 288-page fun tutorial teaches you everything from double dutch and cat's cradle to secret note passing skills, making friendship bracelets, and mastering a perfect cartwheel." This book was basically an early self-help book for girls. There are all kinds of little articles about different things, everything you need to know from basic life skills like how to change a tire, to little crafts you can make like different kinds of friendship bracelets, to new games you can play with your friends. There's a whole section on different ways to play tag. There's also little history lessons sprinkled in, such as an article about queens of the ancient world and another one just about pirates. There are also pages dedicated to different cultures, such as a page on how to tie a sari correctly and a page talking about different kinds of Spanish food. As it says in the publishing note at the beginning of the book, this book was based off of a very similar book named The Dangerous Book for Boys, which came out a year earlier in 2006. For my research, I thrifted both of these books so I can compare and contrast, but honestly, there's so much in here that it could be a whole video in itself. Apparently, there was a TV show for The Dangerous Book for Boys that aired in 2018, but was soon canceled only 4 months after the release. I'm not sure why, but let me know if you guys want me to make a video on the TV show and the book. The two books look very similar, even down to the font and the paper lining, but a lot of the content is very different. For starters, The Daring Book for Girls is slightly bigger than The Dangerous Book for Boys, and while The Daring Book for Girls has a lot of self-help and life advice, things like finance and how to pick the right tools for your toolbox, the book for boys is very much lacking in that department, mostly focusing on how to do cool card tricks and a few history lessons. Another funny thing that I read in both the books was articles about dealing with the opposite gender. The book for girls discusses how boys are just human beings like everyone else, and how talking to them is not as complicated as we might think. It's okay to be friends with them, and it's okay to want a boyfriend, and then it's okay to not want one. It also very lightly discusses gender roles, and how it's stereotypical and lazy to think that boys only like sports and being messy, and how girls only like pink and flowers and quote-unquote girly things. The book reads, "As concerns boys themselves, you have several options. The first, of course, is to ignore them until you or they are 19, or 21, or 25. Alternatively, you can make a boy your best friend. Boys can be excellent friends. In general, they like to do things, and that makes them rather fun. Of course, a third option is romance. Some girls might be interested in this kind of thing. You will recognize them by their doodles of their name and a boy's name and a heart on their science homework. Other girls might think that would be too icky to even imagine. If you are in the latter group, don't worry, you have plenty of company. If you're in the former group, there are two main things to keep in mind. One, if a boy doesn't like you the way you are, the problem is him, not you. And two, don't try to make a boy change for you. It's important to appreciate people for who they are. Wherever you fall on the spectrum of how you feel about boys, do treat all your friends, boys and girls, with kindness. This has gone out of fashion, and that's a sad mistake. Overall, the truth is that there's no great big mystery about boys. Boys are people, and like all people, they are complicated. And that's what makes being friends with other people interesting. And as for the book for boys, it's a little less socially aware, unfortunately. It's mostly dating advice or how to win a girl over, but some of this advice is kind of goofy. Some of my favorite lines include, "You may have already noticed that girls are quite different from you. By this, we do not mean the physical difference, more the fact that they remain unimpressed by your mastery of a game involving wizards or your understanding of Morse code. It's important to listen. Human beings are often self-centered and like to talk about themselves. In addition, it's an easy subject if someone is nervous. It is good advice to listen closely, unless she has also been given this advice, in which case an uneasy silence could develop, like two owls sitting together. When you are older, flowers really do work. Women love them. When you are young, however, there is a ghastly sense of being awkward rather than romantic. She will guess that your mother bought them. Valentine's Day cards, do not put your name on them. The whole point is the excitement a girl feels, wondering who will find her attractive. If it says from Brian on it, the magic isn't really there. This is actually quite a nice thing to do to someone you don't think will get a card. If you do this, it is even more important that you never say, I sent you one because I thought you wouldn't get any. Keep the cards simple. You do not want one with fancy stuff of any kind." That was... yikes, okay.
Yikes forever.
Avoid being vulgar. Excitable bouts of windbreaking will not endear you to a girl, just to pick one example. Play a sport of some kind. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it replaces the corpse-like pallor of the computer programmer with a ruddy glow. Honestly, this is more important than you know. If you see a girl in need of help, unable to lift something for example, do not taunt her. Approach the object and greet her with a cheerful smile, while serendipitously testing the weight of the object. If you can lift it, go ahead. If you can't, try sitting on it and engaging her in conversation. Yeah, obviously do not take any of this dating advice. Take it from someone who is a female. This will not play out how you think it will. Besides these two books, there was a lot of, I don't want to say dupes, but kind of. There were a lot of books that were written shortly afterwards that had a very similar style and format. My roommate Abby had a book similar to it called The Original Girl's Handy Book, which I think was like a Girl Scouts thing. And then I had a book called The Girl's Book on How to Be the Best at Everything. Both were very much inspired by the Daring Book for Girls and even had some of the same entries. I'd also like to think that this girl self-help book idea was also what inspired the American Girl self-help books. I used to read those things like it was the Bible. Besides the obvious name tie-in and the giant statue of the book in the game, there's a few other aspects that were very cleverly tied in. All the essential gear has the same descriptions to the book's list of essential gear. All the mini games and crafts are referenced in the book, and you can find the badges in the back of the book. There was also a link at the bottom of the badges page, which took me to the Daring Book for Girls website, where you can print out the badges as well as a passport to adventure. It's actually pretty cute, and I was thinking about printing it out and putting it in my dorm. There's also a Daring Girl anthem with printable lyrics. There was also apparently a website for the Wii game, but the site has since been taken down. So, is this game a masterpiece? No, obviously not. But it was a super clever way to expand the Daring Book for Girls universe, the DBGCU, if you will. I really liked this game when I was little, but it didn't keep my attention like some of my other games did. While I was playing this game with Lucy, I was thinking it would have been really cool if this game was like an MMO of some kind. A virtual world kind of in the same vein as Club Penguin or Pet Pet Park. Obviously, games like that are really expensive to make, but I think a lot of the mechanics are kind of boring, but would be super fun if you could interact with other players. Maybe Jumpstart should have gotten a hold of it and replaced their 3D virtual world with a daring game for girls. I don't know, just a thought. I really wanted this game and this book to be sexist so I could complain about it, but honestly, I wish I would have had a book like this when I was growing up, because I had to learn a lot of this stuff through trial and error. Yes, the internet has made it a lot easier to find information, and a lot of kids today might not connect with it in the same way that kids in 2007 did, but I think that kids could still really benefit from this. Not just girls, but everyone.
Okay, I think we're done. You done for the day?
Bye, friends.
Bye, friends. And that concludes me and Lucy's playtime. Bye. Say bye.
Bye.
Hey, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for sticking around. Here's a star sticker. Let me know if you've ever played this game or remember seeing the commercials, or if you had the Daring Book for Girls. My references are listed in the description below, and if you have any good jokes, leave them in the comments. Lucy's been kind of in a knock-knock joke mood lately, so if you have any good ones, I'll read them to her later. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!